aboard, passing it over to another sailor. You kind of you have that feeling as to why this makes sense to be aboard this ship.
So just to give a little bit of an intro real quick, and Philip does not have a mic, so there's going to be a passing of mics here shortly during the show.
Yes.
Eventually we'll have 3 mics and an interface that can deal with it. But for now, I appreciate you all inviting me on the boat to have this conversation and to learn more about the Voyagers Club and to talk about everything that y'all have been up to as of late. Lots of big adventures, lots of things to discuss. But Davis and I have been having this conversation about this particular podcast, or just a podcast in general, for literally over a year and a half. And the original idea in the sauna was to start a podcast in the sauna and to only do them in the sauna and literally just see if we could last for a full hour. And it's like, how long can you last before you pass out in the sauna doing a podcast?
While talking about, current events.
While talking about current events,
yeah.
Politics, life, all the above, like going super deep, and
Political
it's like, how long can you actually last in the sauna?
Right.
Thankfully, I didn't go down that road, but decided to start this almost a year ago now. Yeah. And you've been out traversing the world. You and Philip and the rest of your crew have been doing a lot of big things as of late. And so there's plenty to discuss on that front. But I'm going to first and foremost let you give a little bit of background on yourself, and then we'll proceed accordingly from there. And we'll also pass it off to Philip to let Philip join in.
All right, real talk. Whether I'm gearing up for a tough workout or preparing for an episode of The Cameron Brown Show, I need to be locked in. And that's where A-Bomb Energy comes into play.
This stuff isn't just another energy drink. It was actually created by an Army Special Ops combat medic who wanted something better, something that actually helps you think clearer, focus longer, and retain information, not just give you a quick caffeine spike. And I can tell you, it really works. I've been drinking A-Bomb before I hit the gym, and it's like flipping a switch. My focus is on point, my energy is steady, and I don't get that crash afterward. Same when I'm recording this podcast. I need to be sharp, engaged, and A-Bomb helps me stay in the zone. Plus, it actually tastes great. So if you're looking for something that gives you a real mental and physical edge, go check them out at abombenergy.com. And when you order, just type Cameron in the notes so they know that I sent you. Trust me, you're going to feel the difference.
Yes, of course. And thank you so much, Cameron, for the opportunity to catch up with you, to fulfill a sauna dream of ours. And let it be known, there is a sauna on the vessel. And I pitched the idea of doing this podcast from that sauna.
Well, we might have to do another one.
Yeah. So too. Yeah. It'll be.
We might just give Philip the mic the entire time. Instead.
And just sit outside and
we'll see how much people actually
squirm.
like our conversation.
It's really hot in here.
Yeah. What's it like in there, Philip? So I had met you soon after I had moved to Charleston. I'm a Carolina boy by birth. Claim Cajun. Other than that, though, my family's from Mississippi and Louisiana. I always give that a shout out. Prideful Southerner. But I advocate and attempt to be an ambassador of what I call, and I picked this up in an Oxford American publication, Dixie 2.0, which is essentially the South without racism and celebrating the majesty and the culture of the South and everything that's great in this region, right?
Absolutely.
And I actually fold that in, and I talk with my crew a lot about this into what we're doing, because we're going to be not only showcasing this vessel and the program that we're going to be offering, but we're going to be showcasing ourselves on an international level, and hopefully broadcasting just good throughout the world, because I think that there needs to be a lot more good in the world right now. You being moderate to leaning right, as you self-proclaimed.
Yep.
And me being moderate, leaning left.
Yep.
That we've had great conversations about this, but there's just there's not enough commonalities in the world right now, especially between Americans and us being an American flag vessel, which we'll talk more about also, and what that means. We can really be ambassadors of good,
Absolutely.
sailing upon the waters of this world, if you will,
Yeah, it's
literally and figuratively.
It's interesting you say that too. A lot of my conversations as of late, even on the podcast, have been with people from all over the place, all different backgrounds, perspectives, thoughts, etc. And I think the most beautiful part about this too is you get unique perspectives. You get to understand where people are coming from. It's like, this is my life, this is my experience, this is why I think the way I do, and then you kind of get to go from there and better understand what's actually going on and why they think the way they do based off their experiences. And that's very difficult to do, especially in our world too. But a lot of my conversations have been with people that are very upset that we have our current political landscape. Other people are very happy with it, and it's just always interesting to go between the two and to have those conversations.
Yeah.
Once again, I kind of sit in the middle and I try to see things as logically as possible. They're not all good, they're not all bad. They're just things that happen. And so being able to talk to them and have these conversations is a beautiful thing. Not just politics, but life, value, being on a ship, learning about engines earlier. By the way, I learned more about a boat engine earlier in our conversation than I probably ever had before. And it was like a 30-second clip. And I was like, this is super sick. So, Philip, I'm going to let you do this real quick.
Yeah.
Philip is the engineer on this vessel, correct?
Yep, I am chief engineer on board.
And can you give us a little bit of your background as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So, Davis is an old friend of mine. We actually lived together in a ski chalet, if you will, a ski house. There was how many roommates? 6 of us? 5 of us, 6 of us. Up in Summit County, Colorado, in Dillon, Silverthorne. I was at Keystone as a ski patroller. He was at Copper as a ski instructor, and we both had a background in boats. Both are from the North Carolina area. I grew up East Coast, born in Boston, raised in Raleigh. He's a Wake Forest boy. Winston-Salem. Sorry. Yeah, Winston-Salem. Those W towns always got me.
So are you a skier, or are you a snowboarder, or do you do a little bit of both?
I dabbled in everything.
Okay.
Mainly skier, yeah.
Cool.
Hey, thanks, bud. But so we connected there, and always had a passion for boats, etc. And so I skied by wintertime, and by summertime I was the service director up at Lake Dillon Marina, which is the highest freshwater marina in the world, at 9,017 feet. I was the caretaker for about 450 vessels there.
Wow.
And so that's where I really cut my teeth working on boats. Yeah. A lot of slips. We had.
That marina is constantly. I'll let you reiterate that.
If you're gonna talk. No.
I was gonna say that marina is constantly, or that Lake Dillon is constantly listed as top 100 places to sail before you die. You're just year round. You got snow-capped Rockies cascading over you into this beautiful, crystal clear water, and better than I do.
Have y'all experienced Lake Tahoe before?
Yeah,
So-
Tahoe's beautiful.
Tahoe is like probably something similar to that too, right? Not much of a sailing lake though. But we went on a catamaran ride there a while back. But I think of it the same way. It's like you get every single season.
There's some
there.
sailing in Tahoe too, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, on Lake Dillon, it's great. A lot of sailors come out there to really challenge and test their mettle as well, because it's a convergence of 5 different mountainous valleys. There's no prevailing winds. A microburst can come up, in an instant and really humble you.
Right.
And so that's where I really learned to sail. And then, from there I moved down to Denver and used my skills. I had a shop restoring classic cars and motorcycles for a while. Have always worn many different hats and many various jobs, but one day Davis calls me up, New Year's Day this year actually. He goes, "Hey, what are you doing with your life these days?"
Gotta love that question.
Remember that dream we always talked about? And it was an instant yes from me, and here I am.
Phenomenal. And here you are, and I'm gonna ask a quick question on the shirts real quick, or the get up. The gold star, what does this stand for? Because I'm seeing you both have one.
I'm glad you asked, Cameron.
It's like straight A's, but on a boat.
Pretty much, yeah. So this is our formal dockwear, if you will, and we recently rolled it out.
Okay.
We've got our country colors on our left arm, with the stars pointing towards the heart, of course, right, as if you were running into battle, the way that the flag would be flying. We then have our company patch, the Voyagers Club, with our inception date of or year of 2022, and then our credo, which is forward, period, together, period, forward together, yeah. And there's a lot encompassing. There's a lot encompassed into those two small words, right?
Cool.
For me, the star that you ask about is every crew member has a star.
Okay.
The number of stars that they will have will denote how many seasons they've been aboard. Gold indicates an executive officer aboard.
Okay.
And then red indicates able-bodied seaman.
Love it.
So there's some authority to it, and some regimentation. And I really had no plan in doing any of that other than when I got aboard and felt the military spirit of this vessel being a military vessel itself. And it kind of, I don't know, I gotta be careful that I'm not turning into the freaking Patton around here, where I'm
Yeah.
pistol whipping my soldiers and stuff.
So the military aspect of this, let's just talk about the vessel for a bit.
Yeah.
Where was this vessel built? How old is it? What kind of vessel is it? Let's just dive into those details.
And okay, and I'll let Philip piggyback on this with me. To give you a little background about he and I, still though, we're both sailors, and so I didn't anticipate having command of a 125-foot motor vessel at any point in my career. I've been a unofficial part-time captain since my early 20s. Been sailing professionally since I was 16, meaning getting either trips paid for or paid to be delivery crew,
right.
Acquiring sea days towards my captain's license. And I've been an official captain full-time for 5 years now. All that being said, that's always been on sailboats, right? And so the Voyagers Club, when I conceived the idea of the Voyagers Club, it was with a sailboat. And the idea essentially was to have adventure offshore sailing charters from Charleston to Bermuda and back, teach people how to sail, have some fun along the way. I then got sober, and I was like, maybe I can throw in an aspect of sobriety into that. We can dry people out along the way or something. Hope they don't jump overboard. Exactly. That was the working title, was Seahab, right? Patent pended, trademarked.
Great name. Though.
Yeah, thank you,
seriously.
thank you. So
I just feel like you get really seasick though. On your Seahab.
Definitely. Well, you don't know which one it is, if it's the detox or the So it's a good way to mask things. Anyway, so I came to Charleston and before I went off on a political temporary rant there for a second, but I came to Charleston for a job commanding a vessel here. And when I parted ways with them, I was teaching sailing over at Charleston Sailing School for a bit and looking for other opportunities. And I actually got called up by this guy who had acquired an old Roosevelt family yacht named Mistress. The yacht was up in a Maryland shipyard. And he was wanting to rebuild it. It was built in 1928, I think. And he was, it was refitting it and wanted to put it back into the international racing regatta circuit and wanted me to be the captain. So I'm up there moonlighting between teaching sailing here at the American Sailing Association School and going up there and helping him with the refit. And this thing's sleek and cool. But I'm like, if you want to do international guys and be contenders, which he was this old English aristocrat that was all full of piss and vinegar, and he was ready to win we were going to be on the podium on every single regatta that we enter. I was like, if you want that to be the case, this vessel's not outfitted for a modern crew, so you're going to want a chase boat. Okay, well, let's look into this. And so we found a chase boat in that shipyard, actually. It was old Burger 90.
Did he sound like Tommy Shelby? Is that what he sounded like?
A drunk Thomas Shelby. He sounded like Arthur Shelby. Maybe just not as gruff, right?
Gotcha.
But he was, interesting. Lord, he was a lord, but I won't stay in his name. Just an interesting guy. I need to follow up with what happened with that vessel. anyways, we're looking, and so then I started looking for chase boats, and I'm looking into motor vessels and like feasible ones that can go offshore for these regattas that are international and stuff, and that's how I fell upon what was then Sacagawea, this vessel, now back to its original namesake, Robert Gray. And I was like, this is a special boat. It was on some weird forum. I can't even remember where I found it. But I had to deep dive into it. It was all the way out in San Francisco. And I was like, I need to find out more about this ship. And then once I came aboard, passing it over to another sailor, you kind of you have that feeling as to why this makes sense to be aboard this ship.
Got it.
It is just dripping with history and character, and one of our mates aboard, Tom. He was our scientist on the expedition that we just completed the first half of. He always likens it to the African Queen and that spirit of adventure and exploration and just that old school guttural feeling of like we're going off into the unknown and doing something special. And that's the feeling that this ship really gives. So I mean, yeah, Davis sent me one picture of it. She's 125 foot long, 400 tons, and just pre-war 1936 construction, high iron content steel, and 200,000 rivets. And I mean, just
there's so much character in this boat.
Yeah,
Not somebody like, it's not like I know boats super well, but you walk on, you're immediately like, wow, this thing is old.
Absolutely.
But taken care of relatively in comparison to what I guess it could be if
Relatively.
nobody had been taken care of it.
Relatively, it's got good bones.
Absolutely.
It's got good bones. It's I think so. The USGS had it in the 70s after the Army Corps of Engineers was done with it, and it went through a couple various hands of different owners, and nobody really even, I don't think anybody really knew what to do with it, was kind of the thing, and so it just kind of became a ship that sat at a dock and had some liveaboards on it, and there was work done to it here and there, but never with any like purpose or direction. It was always in the name of keeping it going instead of like a resto mod or a full restoration back to original or anything like that. So there's systems added on top of systems and stuff like that we're sorting through.
This is a 1936 model though, correct?
Yeah.
And so pre World War II, what was the purpose of this vessel?
A research vessel.
Okay.
It was originally intended as a research vessel, and that's what we're bringing it back to.
So she was commissioned in 1930.
Okay.
By FDR, if those dates are correct. If he was in office, it was commissioned by him, and was started to be built in 1932, finished in 1935, and then splashed in 1936.
Got
Your splash date is really when your ship is. That's why it says 1936 everywhere. That's when
Is
it
6
goes
years a
into
long
operation.
time for boat construction? I mean, just in general?
Yeah, I think that, and I think you asked a question like, where's she from, this, that, and the other earlier. Right after those was the middle of the Depression, right? The bottom dropped out in 29. So she was built in Portland, Oregon at Lake Washington Shipyard. So I assume that had a lot to do with it. Normally, nowadays 6 years is because like one of the TVs got put in the wrong room or something like that, right?
Right.
But back then, I think it was because they literally couldn't acquire some of the materials or something like that.
Well, you liken it to the Empire State Building, which was built in what, a couple of years, if not less than that. So something like that. So I'm just thinking if a vessel took 6 years, the Depression, whatever it was,
Right.
a lot more steel than the Empire State Building. Not that I know how to build either, frankly, but at the same time, you think that's a period of time. It's a long period of time.
Yeah, and I mean, and they had the U.S. government backing it.
Yeah.
Like it was, so they probably didn't have any shortage of cash back then. This is all speculation, but that was a good question. That was a long time. Once she did splash, she was used as a United States military research vessel charting the Columbia River, and that's where her namesake comes from. Robert Gray, who was the first Anglo essentially to discover the Columbia River out west, and then he was certainly the first American to circumnavigate the world. And then he actually died in a shipwreck off of Charleston after that. So
Wow.
we're hoping
Literally
for,
bringing it back home.
Yeah,
That's wild.
yeah.
I was going to say, Charleston especially is like rich in history. Have you been to Charleston frequently? Like, or how often have you come to Charleston?
You know, I spent 16 years in Raleigh, North Carolina, and I think we only came down this way once on like a family trip. We usually found ourselves out in the Outer Banks or something like that.
Absolutely. I mean, kind of similar. There's just Charleston is just so rich with history. So this
absolutely.
This is so. It makes so much sense for this vessel to be here for this period of time or however long it's going to be, but also to connect it to whatever research is going to be done on this vessel and whatever other uses are come about here soon, right? I would love to talk about that as well. What's kind of the plan moving forward? But it's very fitting that this vessel ends up here in Charleston for at least a period of time.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. A little more into the history. So after the Columbia River charting, they used it as a light tug during World War II. It was stationed up in the Aleutian Islands off of Alaska. Alaska wasn't a state yet, so they did some ocean floor mapping up there, and were kind of trying to protect their interests along the Alaskan border.
There's some foggy history there.
It's a little, yeah.
A lot of people out west refer to it as, is this that espionage boat?
Yeah, a lot of people thought it was a spy boat. They painted it all white, and it was disguised as like a pleasure craft. But it was also named LT 666 during World War II. The tow ballard right here underneath this coffee table. That's what they were using, as a tug during the war.
So this room was built on.
This room was not original to the plans, correct? It kind of ended like right here.
Yeah. And so then this was added on, I believe, in the 70s. This aft wall here actually lifts up like a hangar door.
Huh.
That aft wall lifts up as a hangar door, and you can still use this towing bit to tow appropriately. Yeah, yeah. And she's got some inertia, man.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure. I feel like during that time though, any vessel could have probably been considered a spy vessel, right? And even to this day too, right? Vessels in general, you never know what's being used for spying or espionage or whatever. Speaking of which, the whole Russian situation, I didn't realize this, but we bought Alaska from Russia in, I believe, the 70s. Is that correct?
53.
50s, okay.
53
for
is
like
when it became a
100
state. 53 or
something
59.
million. It was not like billions of dollars. And you think about it too, and you're like, that's wild that we bought that much property for that from Russia at that time. I was actually talking about it recently on a podcast as well, where this is completely off topic, but China is kind of on that side of Russia, where a couple of different individuals I've been talking with think that China might be trying to make a push to buy Siberia in a big land grab from Russia here in the very near future. Man, there's a shame. And across the board, you're just kind of like, that would actually happen. And you think back in history, and you're like, yeah, well, we bought Alaska from Russia. That happened. I mean, there's plenty of situations in history where land is purchased from governments, right? But the thought of China buying potentially
Hawaii was one of the last. I think Alaska was the last state, right?
Yep.
But Hawaii was around that time too. I don't know who we acquired that from. Frickin' bought the Panama Canal.
Yep.
Sold it. Trying to buy it back now.
Speaking of which, that deal is apparently being blocked by the Chinese as of today, because of whatever reasons. But it's crazy that it's got to this point where like the Chinese have that much control over the Panama Canal as well too. But in selling it to Panama basically gave a lot of their
People have interests in cargo.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's a hell of a place to have an interest in, right? I mean, it's a choke point, which y'all just experienced too. So I'm curious to know about the Panama Canal experience as well after we get through this portion of the conversation.
Yeah. This portion of the conversation could derail us into the rest of the podcast, right?
Sorry, I just went to China's going to potentially buy Russia, so I don't know how we got there. But I was just thinking through all that's been happening as of late, and it's one thing after the next. And I think this is what's, frankly, there's a lot of things wrong with what's going on nowadays, but there's so much information available to everybody that you're constantly trying to think about, like, what to do, next, like in the next hour of your life, but you're constantly bombarded with all this information. So it's so good to just like disconnect and not pay attention at all, and frankly just go about your life.
And that's really, really easy to do on a ship.
Yeah.
Especially when you're underway. And that's like part of my love.
Seahab.
Yeah, exactly. It's a blessing and a curse in that, like, you know, I don't keep up with world politics as much as I used to. And I need to know some of that stuff, right? But then also, like, the first basketball game that I watched was Duke versus Alabama the other day. So I like miss my sports, you know. But it's very very cleansing, you know, not keeping up with the Joneses.
Yep.
And that's what drew me to this industry majorly. But then, you know, we come back to doc and you're immediately kind of thrusted into it. And I do like to keep up with the current events so that I can have conversations with people like you. And I will say every time we have a conversation, I learn something new about what's going on in the world, which is lovely.
Hopefully I'm not giving you or feeding you bullshit.
Yeah.
There's a lot of it out there, and I frankly, every single time I see something, I'm like, I wonder if that's true or not, right?
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah.
I don't actually know. You don't actually know if any of it's true. You're just, it's all interesting.
What's your preferred?
The dogs.
What's
Do you want to say that into the mic real quick?
What's your preferred news source?
Oh, after he says this, let's.
They're eating the cats and dogs. That was something we learned while out at sea.
Really?
No.
Oh, man.
That's one of those things you can't believe as far as you can even throw.
I honestly, there's so many things that have been said just to get attention nowadays, and it's all an attention grab, right? So once you realize that it's all just an attention grab, then you start to be like, okay, what can I gravitate towards? Which is what I'm kind of hoping to make this is good, logical conversations that might be right, might be wrong, but at the end of the day, you're like, trying to actively seek truth in everything we do.
You know, it's kind of a blessing because there's a lot of stuff that can be believable, but there's a lot of stuff that's just ridiculous. And you can kind of suss people out by what they bring up in conversation.
Philip, what's ridiculous to you? I'm just curious. Let's go there. What would you consider like on the ridiculous scale? And he's
I'm eating cats and dogs, obviously.
So you don't think that any of those individuals ate a single cat or dog?
I mean, maybe as like street meat overseas.
I'm just once again, I think it's ridiculous too. That it was even brought up.
It was people in where was it? Wisconsin,
Ohio,
or Ohio,
some city in Ohio, which is why
and it was in
an
an apartment building, and they were accusing. There's no they.
Donald Trump.
Donald Trump President Trump was accusing people in this apartment building, tenants of this apartment building, of stealing other people's domesticated pets. This is ridiculous. Unbelievable.
So how do you feel about aliens? I'm just curious. Can we go there?
Oh, totally real.
This is amazing. I knew that. This is great. I love it.
No.
So yeah, this is where I like the ridiculous scale, right? If you were just to be like, oh, this is ridiculous or this is not, that's so subjective. Every single person
it is
considers
subjective,
everything,
yeah.
certain things ridiculous. And I always go back to this too, and I just be like, things that are said in the media now are said for attention.
Yeah.
It's an attention grab because your attention means dollars.
Yeah.
For every single organization.
As far as aliens go, if somebody wants to have a conversation with me about, theoretical feasibility of, how large the universe is and that the chances are we're probably not alone, it's like, yeah, I'll have that conversation.
Yeah.
If somebody's like, people are walking around in skin suits, man, I'm like, all right, no.
So Philip has
Probably
never
not.
obviously listened to the Cameron Brown show before, and that's okay because this is perfect. But about 4 episodes ago, I don't actually know which episode it was, I had a guy on that it claims to have been abducted by aliens numerous times throughout his life.
I'm going to have to listen to that.
You're going to have to listen to that one. Unfortunately, the audio is not like the best. Oh, I hope we don't burn ourselves. Let's not burn ourselves. But he has a video of. Oh, do we burn a hole already?
Yeah, he got a hole in his pants.
That's wild. On the podcast. Are you okay?
swear this never happens.
But anyways, he claims to have been abducted numerous times in his life. Once again,
Wow.
I had him on the podcast. We talked through every single abduction story. They actually are. They're crazy. And
I wanna hear these.
While I was listening to him the first time we were on the phone, and I was sitting on my back porch, and I was just listening to his stories, and I was getting a little freaked out because I was like, these are way too real. Like, who lies about stuff like this, frankly?
Right.
And as soon as he started getting into the grays and what the ship looked like and how he was going back in therapy and actually seeing these things, he was talking about one of the aliens like approaching him, and a raccoon ran up the tree in front of me, and I screamed. I literally screamed. I freaked out. I was like, "There's a." It's like, that's a raccoon. All right, we're good. But it scared the absolute.
He's
shit out of
telling too much.
He's telling too much. I was like, scared the absolute shit out of me. But that'd be a good one to go watch. Anyways, the video that we share is basically him in a spaceship, and he claims that the video is of him being abducted. It was like 43 seconds long. It's super blurry, but when you tie it all together, it kind of makes sense.
I
It's
would find that fascinating.
very strange, but very fascinating. And I
Yeah.
feel like a very clear video would be way too like clear to be real.
Sure.
So the blurriness of the video kind of gives that authenticity of sorts.
That's cool.
That wasn't a raccoon, brother.
It was definitely a raccoon, but anyways, that would be an interesting for you to go watch when you have some free time.
We see it.
free time we have.
Underneath your Captain Patton over here.
Quiet, you. Yeah.
That smells so good, by the way. Do you smoke as well?
You know,
He smokes cigars.
Tom. I used to do like special occasion cigars.
Yep.
When I was younger, hadn't had one in probably 15 years, and then Tom brought some nice cigars aboard, and there were certain celebration moments throughout the voyage.
I
Where
should have brought one.
indulged.
I should have brought one tonight.
This would be a good opportunity to go into our previous chief engineer.
Let's hear about it.
So
I love how relaxed this has gotten all of a sudden. Like, we just completely chilled out. We went from super serious geopolitics to, let's talk about our previous chief engineer.
it's about to not get relaxed because I get like my hagglers come up when I start talking about some of this personnel that I've had on this ship so far. No, it was fun. It's fun. It's fun, not relaxed, right? So this room is obviously very conducive to smoking a pipe, smoking a cigar. I want it to be like that, right?
It's a great podcast room, too. Just
Thank you,
put it
thank
out
you.
there. It's such a great setting.
The Voyagers Club has taken an identity of hopefully kind of wanting to go back into the days of past exploration and stuff. And with that, we're going to be encouraging our passengers, our clients to unplug, detach, sit, have conversations like this. We got Teddy Roosevelt hanging up on the wall. I try to emulate him in a lot of ways.
With the mustache?
With the mustache, with the, speak soft but carry a big stick.
Absolutely.
The man in the arena, all that jazz, right? Very interesting individual. One, seeking valor. I hope I'm not foolhardy enough that I, am looking for that quest for valor and lead these fine folk into to the gates of hell and not return. But who knows, man? Anything can happen out there, brother.
It's a great black world.
All that. We really need a third mic. This is getting ridiculous.
I know.
I'm getting a new interface, and we're going to do another one in the future.
Good. So all that being said, like, this is a communal area. I'm completely fine with people smoking cigars in here. I'm not a fan of cigarettes. No drugs on board. But pipe, tobacco, it's just, this is a good freaking hearty area, right? And so Dr. Tom Dietz, who's a freaking amazing individual who I met out west while I was acquiring this vessel, who is he's very strong in the Northern California chapter of the Explorers Club.
Okay.
May be becoming their chair soon. And then hopefully, my hope, as I'm a prospect member of the Explorers Club.
What is the Explorers Club?
That's a whole nother segment of this.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
Sounds good.
Yeah, but it's a cool again with Teddy Roosevelt. So he's a big cigar smoker. He was on board with us from Ensenada, Mexico, all the way back to Charleston so far, right? And then he's going to be coming back aboard for our northern route, which is through the Northwest Passage around Alaska, down back into California, right? And then completing the circumnavigation of North America. With that, he has started our first scientific initiative, which is acronymed CNAMS, stands for Circumnavigation North American Marine Microbe Survey. He is the one that has first brought science on board for us. He has been a phenomenal business mentor and friend, and all because I showed up I was invited by one of his mentors, Leslie Ewing, who is a contemporary of Sylvia Earle, who's like the frickin' Jane Goodall of oceanography. And Tom's connected with Sylvia Earle also. We're actually naming one of our cabins after her. But I was invited to an Explorers Club meeting out there during Fleet Week in San Francisco, and I said, hey, I got the ship that my partner and I recently acquired anchored off the St. Francis Yacht Club. It's like we were just anchored right off of it beneath the Golden Gate Bridge for Fleet Week, and we're just sitting out there for 4 days watching Blue Angels go over our heads all day long, busted eardrums and all, right? I mean, those things are loud. And I said, you should come aboard. And he came aboard, and he's like, this is awesome. How can I be a part of it? And so then 2 weeks later, he's like, I got an idea. I want to pitch it to you. And I was like, dude, come aboard as long as you want. That sounds phenomenal, right? Anyways, long story short, Expedition 1, that's right. He gets it endorsed by the Explorers Club. We're a flagged expedition of the Explorers Club, which is a big deal, and we'll talk more to that here in a moment. But Tom liked his cigars, and we were in some rough seas at night. It was cold out there sometimes. We're sitting in here having a break or whatever, and smoking a cigar. Two times he lit up in here. Our previous chief engineer, who knew a lot about this vessel, was involved with it for the past 8 years or so, but was not necessarily a savvy mariner. A very interesting individual, sweet man, but very particular. He comes up like 2 minutes after, and I'm smoking my pipe. I've smoked my pipe in here all the time. He comes up and he's like, is somebody smoking a cigar in here? We're like, well, yeah, man. He's like, it's blowing down into my cabin.
Yeah.
And we're like, no, it's not. Like, no, it's not, bro.
But was it?
Could have been some, yeah.
Finding a hole
but
somewhere.
but at the same time, like, deal with it, I was like in the middle of taking over command. I had a delivery captain on board that was training me up on the ship also, who had previously been the captain. And, Brian, the chief engineer, was an employee of mine, essentially, an employee of the Voyagers Club. But I also couldn't scare him off because we needed to be extracting this knowledge from him for Philip to take over, right? And so he was kind of this guy that we had to tiptoe around and make sure that he still felt welcome aboard. And he is a friend of mine, and he's a confidant, and he helped out with a lot of stuff. Moral of the story is, feel free to smoke cigars in this.
Fantastic. All right.
Yeah.
Long-winded way of saying we're all smoking cigars on this vessel.
And then over-encompassing story is that so far it was a long road to get to Mexico from San Francisco, literally and figuratively. And then after we got through the Panama Canal, San Francisco to the Panama Canal was a very long road. And then after we got through the canal, and I said it, and I was like, I really hope that this is the case. It's going to be a lot more shorter of a road to Charleston, not only by date, but we left San Francisco mid-November. Granted, we were hauled out in Mexico for 2 months,
Yep.
And we got through the canal on March 1st. All right, so that's 4 months roughly. All right, we'll call it 2 months since we had 2 months in Mexico on the hard. And then we got up to Charleston. What day did we pull into Charleston? With a week off in Florida, like the early 20s of March. So we boogied up from that. It's a shorter distance too.
I don't have my sea legs right now, and so this is.
You feel it?
I can feel that. Oh, I felt that. I can also see it too. I'm seeing everything moving. That's the
the
first wave that's hit that I'm like, wow, I can actually feel it right here.
Oh, it's the ferry over there swimming by.
So
Go ahead.
when we were underway,
Yeah.
you know, if you're taking the current from across the ship, you just start really rolling, and you would really feel it. I got sick a few times. It happens. Happens to the best of us. Yeah, yeah. So Adam's our current first officer, and he came on board. He hopped on the east side of Panama, and came up to went to Florida and then up here to Charleston with us. And he didn't like the heat, so he didn't like being down in the cabins down below. So he would come up here and sleep on that Chesterfield you're on, and you know, we hit a couple days of real rough seas, and this whole room was just in disarray.
Shifting completely.
And he's trying to sleep on this thing, and he's just skating around the room like it's like literally it would start going forward, and then we'd hit a roll. We'd be pitched down, and he would come forward, and then he would hit a roll, and he would skate this way and then go back. And
For the record, this is a super comfy couch though. So
Oh,
you're
yeah.
ice skating on a super comfy couch.
yeah.
The old linoleum tile in here that's been here since like the 70s probably.
Yeah. We're working on having it having the ship in two modes, you know, sea stowage and at port, you know, and swapping back and forth with ease.
Yeah.
That's something we're working on for our cabins.
So are you working on like securing these couches
Oh,
properly?
absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So moving forward, he can take a nap and without
Of
feeling
course,
like he's
yeah.
skating.
It's not necessarily set up the way that it's going to be set up.
Okay.
Yeah, we're trying to find a home for everything.
Got it. I mean, like the books obviously are all secure, like in their racks too. Like there's
Yeah, the
additional
library
wood storage.
stayed pretty good.
Let's put it this way. This couch behind the setup here, the couch you're sitting on
Yep.
is 20 times more expensive than the couch. I mean, that was probably an expensive couch at one point, but I got it at a Habitat Restore for $100, you know?
Yep.
And this one, I was just like, I told my partner, I was like, I just want a Chesterfield in the salon, right? And so
This
then
will be in my man cave one day.
yeah.
This kind of couch
Yeah.
for sure.
Oh yeah, yeah. So we're still reestablishing the layout, and my partner, she's an art curator here in Charleston, and very, very creative, interior designer and stuff like that. Doesn't know anything about the maritime industry. She knew that going into this also, but she's brought her creativity to this ship, and she's just barely scratched the surface so far. Yeah. And like some of these hangings, we went to a shop in Manhattan, old print shop there, old family fifth generation run print shop, and picked up some of these, and like I couldn't be more happier with them. But like
Looks great.
You know, this has been her. This is like 10% of what she's going to be doing with this ship, so we're super excited about that.
Was the Teddy Roosevelt also a part of her pickings?
We got that Teddy at that, yeah, and these ones of the ships are actually etchings from what's his name, either Frank or Fred Cousins.
Okay.
And he's a famous ship painter that was based out of Newport, Rhode Island, and they're works of art that we have in IKEA frames right now. You know, so
Well, they look great.
thank you.
I'm not gonna cut you off there, but I want to go back to the Explorers Club for a little bit.
Yes.
And get a little bit more information on the Explorers Club, and then I'd also like to follow up with that and better understand what kind of the next few months look like for you all with the ship as well.
Yeah. So the Explorers Club was founded in 1904 by some Manhattan socialites. This is the way that I describe it. You look it up on Wiki. You know, some of my facts might be taken out of context and stuff, but Teddy Roosevelt was a founding member, and it was essentially their response to America's response to the Royal Geographical Society in England, right? My thought is that they wanted it to be American at first, and it was, and then they saw that there was all these opportunities to really get them established on the map as a explorative society if they opened it up to all nationalities.
Okay.
So they brought aboard, the Norwegians were doing a bunch with Friedrich Nielsen and Roald Amundsen. And now they're essentially known as the famous First Club. So all of these explorers were the first to conquer these epic feats of exploration. First to the North Pole. That was actually American, and it's disputed right now. It's even more so Robert Peary. First to the South Pole, Roald Amundsen. First to Everest was Sir Edmund Hillary. First to the Mariana Trench. First to the moon, Buzz Aldrin. So this is a cool fact. The second flag hoisted on the moon behind the American flag was the Explorers Club flag. And we're now carrying on our expedition, the CNAMS expedition I was telling you about, an Explorers Club flag. We're carrying number 73, 76. And they have about 200 of them. And if, like, the Buzz Aldrin flag has obviously been retired, but they'll rotate them out if it's something interesting.
They didn't go back and grab it.
They didn't go back.
Are you sure?
No, it's in their headquarters in Manhattan, I believe, if not like the Smithsonian or something. Yeah, they won't lend them out to other expeditions. They'll retire it, right?
So you're saying that they actually did put it on the moon?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Not the flag that we have.
Philip knows where I'm going with this.
It was the aliens in a studio, Davis.
Yeah. It might have. Yeah.
Not great advertising for the Explorers Club, right? All due respect to the Explorers Club.
Yeah, and so recently their freaking Ocean Gate, the Titan sub going to Titanic, 4 of the 5 guys that perished in that were big members of the Explorers Club. The 5th was that 18-year-old kid that was with his dad.
Yeah. But all 4 billionaires, 3 billionaires, and then
So it's interesting because I don't want to talk too much about like the politics within the walls of the Explorers Club because I'm not a member. I'm applying to be a member, and you have to have 2 current member sponsors, and it's like a college application. It's pretty interesting, and they can just say yay or nay for whatever reason. Now, in order to be a member, you have to actually have some sort of contribution to the scientific community and scientific purpose and stuff. So luckily Philip and I will probably be applying together, and Tom has given us, Dr. Dietz has given us that opportunity with the Voyagers Club. And the Voyagers Club is, imitation is the highest form of flattery, right? Like, put our logo up next to theirs and stuff.
Can I have a patch?
Yeah, we'll get you a patch.
I
got a couple things for you. But
I was gonna ask too, in regards to the Explorers Club, do you have to have a Teddy Roosevelt mustache as well? Does that help with your application?
Oh, I'm gonna shave right before I apply.
Yeah. Definitely. I mean, I don't know. I shouldn't do dates because I'm not too sure about them, but it was all male for a while, and now there's phenomenal females in there. We're naming some of our cabins after those females and stuff. But Jane Goodall, like Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk are honorary members. They're having their Explorers Club annual dinner, which was like one of the highest.
Bezos is on the chair, isn't he?
Yeah, something like that. James Cameron, lot of cool individuals, and well, James Cameron's a cool individual.
He does some cool.
Yeah. But it's cool. I've always kind of referred to them as like the Illuminati of exploration, because nobody really hears about it and stuff. We were actually rewatching The Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou the other night, and in a lot of the scenes, like they actually go to an Explorers Club chapter in there. It looks like it's in Italy somewhere, but it's a fake one, but they actually have the actual flags behind it. And then getting back to the flag that we have, number 76, that was the first flag carried into Afghanistan in 1937 by an Anglo on an Afghanistan expedition.
Really?
Yeah, and then it got recycled. It's been on like 12 different expeditions, but it got used to circumnavigate the world by way of the poles.
Wow.
So so that, and they did that by air, land, and sea, I believe. So it's a storied flag, and we're sitting there taking pictures with it and stuff. And I mean, it's
beautiful.
it's tattered.
Yeah, I'm sure. Where is it?
Tom has it now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
And he was very like.
So you're not flying this. You're like it's stored properly.
It's
yeah.
Kept safe.
It's
There's even some
it's a historical artifact.
Right.
Yeah. You would. So we were also flagged by the Los Angeles Adventurers Club, and that's a little different. They gave us their flag, and we'll have to get you to sign it. Did he leave it here? He might have. Yeah. If it's still here, we'll get you to sign. But that one's like everybody that we've come in contact with has signed it. That's had a part of what's going on with the Voyagers Club right now.
I love it.
Why don't you talk a little bit about what we're going to be doing going forward
together
Forever.
Yeah, so basically we are now here licking our wounds in Charleston. We had a couple really good days where the sea was not kind to us on our southern route from San Francisco down through the Panama Canal.
Okay.
And then up between Haiti and Cuba to Fort Lauderdale, and then up the coast to Charleston. And the waves weren't kind to us on some days, and our things like our 90-year-old rub rail that's made out of wood and concrete. So we're going to be
on the left-hand side. As you're walking in, or is it both sides are a little bit?
Both sides
Okay.
are a little beat up, but
Okay.
like stuff like that we're gonna retrofit
Yep.
and probably update it to rubber, things like that. Maybe some new power plants or generators. We're looking into grant funding for possibly new hybrid technology, hybrid diesel electric technology.
Cool.
Yeah. But right now we're a single motor, single screw, and there's not much backup if things go wrong. Paddles. Yeah, we've got plenty of paddles. make a sail. Yeah.
I constantly fantasize about being adrift with no engine out there and like having to string together a bunch of sheets so we can sail home over at 1.5 knots over the course of 15 months. Yeah, and we're like, I have to ration food and stuff. I'm like, hell yeah. What would Teddy do?
What would Teddy
You
do?
got some weird dreams, dude.
Philip's like, yeah, I don't really care for that. to happen, but-
I dream of the engine being awesome all the time and never failing.
never having issues, so I don't have to look at it. It just does well.
Exactly. That's what I'm working towards. Yeah, if we have to use sheets, that means I didn't do my job right. Okay, good. Yeah. No, but so from here, we're gonna spend a few months here, and then we're planning on heading north. And venturing into the Northwest Passage to continue the CNAMS expedition, do more of the marine microbe survey, water collection, filtration.
Tell him who's planning on outfitting that.
Oh yeah, well yeah. So Dr. Tom Dietz, he's again always in our corner. And he reached out to Fjallraven, which is a partner of the Explorers Club,
Okay.
and they're wanting to get us outfitted with patches and everything and Arctic gear for when we head north. So that's in progress right now.
I mean, I've only ever watched like Deadliest Catch, right? So
Sure.
when it comes to ice buildup on a ship, it's obviously much different than going through the Panama Canal and have the heat that you experience there. So when you're preparing the ship, this is an engineering question, I guess. When you're preparing the ship for that kind of passage, what differs, right? Like, what do you need to do to prepare the ship for the ice and the snow and the cold weather versus the heat of the Panama Canal?
Great question, and we're still figuring that out.
That's a part of the research.
I'll say so. The things that I know that I need to do as
Yeah.
captain are I have to take a specific course and get credentialed and certified as a polar captain.
Got it.
So I'm doing that in May. It looks like, and then the ship herself. She was built in the Northwest. Did most of her exploring and voyaging.
Gotcha.
She's designed. She's got an icebreaker on the front already.
Gotcha.
That has actually been shaved down a little bit because in the 60s she split a fishing vessel in half and killed a couple dudes.
This boat has seen a lot.
Yeah.
Well,
And she was
we won't
U.S.
publicize
military
that
flag
story.
then, so it's kind of like just swept under the rug. She wasn't-
Sam said, "Whoops,
Yeah.
my bad."
Spy
But
boat.
the ship ambassador, when we were buying it, she was like, "This ship's a murderer." We were like, "What?"
You're really selling the boat, ma'am.
Yeah,
Great
yeah.
job.
Yeah, the ink hadn't dried yet. I don't know about that.
Oh, jeez.
Lots of heaters. No, we're working on retrofitting all the cabins for both aircon and heat and things of that nature.
It might come down to actually having. I see it coming down to actually having like a plethora of sledgehammers on board and having to beat ice off of this steel.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what I've
the
seen, right?
thing.
And
Yeah.
I haven't really seen blowtorches, but I feel like having literal blowtorches on board, if in certain situations, might
Yeah.
make sense as well. But you can't put the entire boat inside the sauna. Only you can get inside the sauna.
Exactly. So a good thing we'll have that sauna. Can you just imagine, like on a calm day in sub-zero temperatures, being in that sauna, looking out at an Arctic landscape?
I think it'd be
you know?
amazing.
Oh, that's the selling point of the sauna. Everybody's giving me shit about the sauna.
That's what I'm saying.
like,
I would pay to get on board
Just
for
you
that
wait.
view, that
Now,
experience.
The ship handles very well. She's a beast. We have ballast compartments to add water in there, so she rides heavier and stuff. Northern Atlantic is known for being a treacherous area, right? Once we get into the Northwest Passage, it'll be a little bit different because there is a lot of ice blockades that decrease the amount of sea state being large seas or whatever. Biggest we've seen so far is probably 10-foot seas,
Okay.
which doesn't sound like a lot, but it's kind of big. Like that's when we were getting thrown around quite a bit. We're up there in the helm, and we're taking face shots 30 feet up from sea spray, right? You get in sub-zero temperatures, and you get any of that, and that's freezing.
Which is
once
why
it
your
hit-
boat has ice everywhere at that point.
Yeah. Because if it freezes,
Yeah.
once it makes contact, and this steel's already going to be cold, so it's going to be interesting. I mean, that is expeditioning, that is exploring, and that's when the rubber meets the road as far as like how the crew and the passengers can muster, and that's pushing what the Voyagers Club is all about. Is not only like being in interesting places, but finding within yourself how you can handle being in those. That's the part of this pitch that I'm trying to make with the Voyagers Club, in that it's not just about discovering new places, it's about discovering new self also, so.
I mean, regardless of alcoholism, whatever your rehab is for, I still like the idea of CHAB for everything,
Yeah.
right? And this is a great vessel to do it on, to connect with the character and the history of this vessel, and to appreciate the history and the character of this vessel, but also, to your point, to come into oneself and to experience things with a crew, which you have to learn from. You're ultimately going to learn from those experiences of getting hit by super cold water all the time.
Oh yeah, no. Oh yeah, definitely. So I mean, yeah, it's not like it's not like we're a charter vessel where people come aboard and have their little glamping experience or anything like that. It's we want everybody that comes on board to feel like they're part of the adventure, to feel like they're welcomed in as part of the crew, that at any time we might need to call on them, and Tom was great at that. He was always like, let me know what I can do to help. I'm right here. I've got able hands. And we're like, hell yeah, Tom. Yeah. So after we came through the Panama Canal, our crew dwindled, cause at first we had, part of the old guard, the old ownership and delivery captain,
Right.
old chief engineer, old second engineer, all of that, along with us, kind of just training. Yeah. They can't just hand you the keys and say, hey, have fun.
Yep.
Have a blast. Don't
Yep.
get hurt. Yeah. And so it's awesome that they stuck around to help us. We made it through Panama. We made it up and once we touched down in Florida, they're like, all right, you guys got it from here. See ya. And so that leg from Florida to Charleston, we kind of really had a skeleton crew. You know, we had a couple friends come aboard,
Right.
But they were down for the count with seasickness for a few days. So it was really, you know, everybody does everything, and that it's a good feeling. You really find your gumption, and you know, you find out what you're made of, and you know, we're excited to go north with that. Also, it's going to be awesome to be not so few boats have gone via the Northwest Passage.
Right.
What was it, like 400, 450?
It was 200 up until like mid 2000s, and now it's jumped to like 400, 450.
Yeah.
Last.
And so few vessels have gone through, and we're going to be doing it in a 90-year-old ship, which is going to be awesome.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And do you plan on having, I say clients, you plan on having other members on the vessel with your crew for that particular adventure?
Yeah. So the cool thing about CNAMS, the active science that we're doing right now, is that it's minimally invasive as far as like a ship's concerned. We're doing water sampling every 1,000 nautical miles, approximately, and that takes about 3 hours to do.
Okay.
Right. So pretty much every 5 days we have 3 hours, but there's a lot of stuff that goes on with that collection after the fact. As far as what's happening on the ship, it's like 3 hours every 5 days, right? That being said, we can bring on other scientific programs, and it won't be stepping on the toes of that active science that we already have in place going around, right?
Yeah.
The idea is to do scientific research coupled with private expeditions. There's a lot of people that are interested in what's now been coined as citizen science programs. International Seakeeper Society is big on that. I've already done expeditions with them, and we're in their Discovery Yacht program. You know, if I seem well rehearsed for a podcast, it's because I've already done a couple with them.
Good.
Good. But no,
how
they're
does
awesome.
How does this compare to those podcasts?
Well, those ones I was speaking to a lot of high schoolers, so you know, I could only say shit like every
not
other
much
word.
cursing.
But, yeah.
Way fucking better.
That's let him say it into the mic. I want to hear that. Yeah, Philip.
This is so much fucking better, man. Oh my god.
There we go.
It's fucking epic.
We're really rocking right now.
Yeah.
We'll just pass by, but
Yeah.
that's amazing though. It's like the first day of like being on, first hour of being back on a boat. It takes some time to get your sea legs and to really feel it again and to get comfortable.
Yeah.
I don't know that I'd get seasick necessarily, but
I get land sickness now.
Yeah, the best part is when you get back on land.
And you feel like you're.
Yeah, best part is you've been at sea for X amount of days, and then you get back on land, and you're sitting there at a restaurant, and you're just like, why is the room moving?
it's not. I am.
I am.
You're like, oh, I know why. It's because I'm salty AF. Yeah.
Nice.
That's how I feel in them ethos steam rooms, dog. I'm just swaying back and forth,
Salty.
you know, and I'm like, they don't call me cat for no reason. You know
You sit in the steam room for like a solid 30 minutes though. Kind of abnormal.
I'll do like 16 to 21 minutes usually. It depends on how long I sauna for.
What about this sauna? Can you last in this sauna pretty long?
This sauna's a heater, bro.
This thing is
Okay.
Burn.
Brutal.
Yeah.
So
I do about 45 in that one. Yeah.
So yeah, this sauna gets freaking hot.
Okay.
But the funniest part is today, a stranger couple just walked up while I was working on our tender up on the upper deck, and you know, they're speaking a different language to one another, and then all of a sudden, excuse me, is that a sauna on board? I turned to the wife. I'm like, yeah, it is. And she's like, oh my god, we are from Norway. We love saunas. How long can you go in there? I'm like, yeah, you know, 20, 30 minutes. They're like, oh, wow. We love saunas. We're from the land of saunas. It was hilarious.
Oh, my gosh.
This was at like 5 p.m. this evening.
It probably catches you off guard, too. Like, I'm in Charleston, South Carolina. Like, what is going on right now?
Well, the crazy thing is, you know, it's a looker of a ship.
Yep.
It's not like anything else around here. People see it and they're like, I have questions. Oh my God, there's somebody. I have to go ask them.
Absolutely.
And so anytime we're out on the deck, all sorts of people walk up and just want to pick your ear about it. It's like you can't get anything done. As if you're in the middle of something, you're just like, all right, well, here we go. Put on the face.
Which is why the
it's
boat,
great, though.
Not that you need to market the boat, but like the boat markets itself. Like you just being around people and people seeing it and just being, once again, I can feel the history in this room, and I have so many questions.
Yeah.
Which this podcast could go on for hours, and I say that oftentimes about podcasts, but literally, I don't have enough battery on these things for this podcast, because I could ask about every single part of the ship and we could delve super deep into it, and I'm sure people would love that. But I do want to hit the big points here, especially as I know y'all have got something coming up here shortly, so I want to make sure that we kind of wrap this up properly. Not that we have to wrap it up necessarily, but I want to make sure that people are aware of what how they can contact you, how they can get in touch with you. What is your target audience? What kind of person should be considering jumping on the vessel?
Yeah.
Just kind of hit on those points as we head towards the end of this.
Yeah, please, and thank you so much for asking that and being willing to promote what we got going on here too. I look forward to working together in the future too, and
in the steam room,
all this, in the sun, all this stuff. Yeah, are these waterproof? So it's so funny, when I acquired this, I still was kind of thinking, all right, offshore expedition adventure charters between Charleston and Bermuda. I was just like, I need to get this ship to Charleston, right? And then Dr. Dietz came in, and then my partner and I went to the Explorers Club Climate Week in Manhattan and did some networking, and that helped, right? And then as we start coming down the coast, it's like starting to take more and more form, and we're bringing on more people. We're bringing on my vessel manager in Coxon, who has a lot of connections, Vicky over on the West Coast and stuff, and we're bringing on Adam, who's based out of here. We're bringing on Phil, right? And we're like, and originally it was all kind of delivery crew, and I was like, let's just get to Charleston, we'll figure it out. I told my partner, if we got to sit there for a year and recoup some of our investment by Airbnb in the cabins, then that's cool, whatever. We got some time. This ship just needs to be on display. It's sitting at a dock in Oakland, California, kind of wasting away, right? We're the new administration. We're moving forward together. Yeah. And
that works really well. The team is on board with forward together.
Yeah.
Philip's taking a nap. Oh, nope. Together we're taking a nap. I mean, together. Here we are.
We're going forward, never backward. So the science really started coming to the forefront.
Yeah.
Like, this is awesome, right? And then coupled with, I'm a scientist by academia, so that's a passion of mine. Luckily, I didn't ever necessarily have to work in it, other than being a wildlife biologist briefly, which was just, unfortunately, shooting coyotes in the head for 6 months in the sandhills of North Carolina. I was like, I ain't doing this anymore. This is bullshit. Yep. So now it's like, okay, holy shit, we can actually do this, and we plot out the circumnavigation and stuff, and that was kind of based on the fact that I wanted to be back in California for 3 months out of the year in order to acquire a California state grant that might help us repropel down here, right, and do the parallel propulsion system. Again, long-winded answer to your question, what kind of people are we looking for? People who want to break from the norm of your standardized travel, right? They're adventurous, they're flexible, they want to seek the unknown, and again, to reiterate, the unknown of places that haven't been traveled to very often, whether it be the Northwest Passage or even the Panama Canal. I mean, our first passengers were really through the Panama Canal. We had 16 people on board for that, and it was all kind of pro bono because it wasn't a commercial operation yet. But then people also that are wanting to seek the unknown as far as themselves and prove to themselves that they can do things like this, be on a 90-year-old vessel, and feel like they're a part of this community, right?
And traverse the Northwest Passage as well.
Yeah, and traverse the Northwest Passage as well, and just venture into the unknown forward together, and
it is great. It works.
Yeah.
Philip doesn't.
Oh, he loves it. He loves it.
No. Philip doesn't love it when he's taking a nap. I'm saying. Every other time he loves it though.
And so how we get involved? So the idea is to be here for 3 months, putting some more lipstick on the girl, right?
Yep.
and then we have a small time slot that you can get into the eastern entrance of the Northwest Passage, which is up there in the Labrador Sea. I need to do some more oceanography research up there, but it's essentially between Greenland and Canada, right?
Yeah.
Before the ice closes in.
Lots going on in Greenland too.
Yeah.
Red, white, and blue land.
Exactly. Yeah.
Trumpland.
Red, white, and blue land. And so I saw somebody talking about how, like, Eric Erickson's attempt to get Vikings to settle there is still working on dumbasses, like, in the 21st century. He's like, oh, Greenland, that sounds nice.
It must be green there.
Let's get that one. That's my Trump impersonation.
I love it. That's, yeah.
Can we golf there? Believe me, I'm the best golfer.
I'm sure there'd be plenty of frozen golf courses there.
So people like Trump are not welcome aboard. But no, I shouldn't say that.
I'm curious. Would you? Well, we won't go there. I was gonna say, yeah, we won't go there.
I don't discriminate.
Philip had something to say on that point too.
Yeah.
I just don't think he'd want to be on board because our chef doesn't believe in well done steak with ketchup. Yeah.
Sounds like the chef makes pretty good food though.
Phenomenal food. We've been eating very well. Our chef Gigi has absolutely spoiled us. She's from Oakland, got her own business, Umami Mommy Catering, and she what did Tom call it? Culinary.
He was on a culinary adventure as well.
A culinary adventure. Yeah, basically.
I love that.
And she so Gigi had actually been on this ship before under the previous administration.
Okay.
And was welcome, when she came. I was hesitant at first because I was like, I don't want to have to teach an old dog new tricks, just like, hey, there's a new sheriff in town. This is how things are going to go, but she just she's the light of everybody's day. And she's getting trained by Vicky, who's our vessel manager, who is very experienced in the charter industry on just mariner expectations and stuff like that. So Vicky will be doing the vessel outreach as far as collaborating with clients on what they need while they're aboard. We also brought on Holly Burrish, who is just down here. She's up in the Northeast and working remotely for us as an expedition outreach manager. Okay. So she'll be reaching out to scientific programs and coordinating with them to see if they can fit into the potential set itinerary that we'll have, and then also private individuals to see if they're interested in whatever science is going on aboard and what have you in that regard. So we've got a good team, both boots on the ground and then outreach program to garner interest in coming aboard and being a part of this. We don't really know what the structure will be like as far as whether or not people are staying aboard for 3 days or 3 months yet. But, in that sense, ships got to stay afloat and money walks and bullshit talks. Nope, other way around.
And this is how you know the coffee's wearing off a little bit, folks.
Money talks and bullshit walks. There you go.
Y'all have had long days here, though, it sounds like. I mean, lots of work goes into keeping a vessel like this afloat. Obviously, the upkeep on something like this is not a small task, to say the least. And I just walking down in the engine room, too, earlier, you could tell. You're like, man, this ship requires a lot of work.
Yeah.
And I commend y'all for taking on not just a challenge, right? Y'all both have different things you could be doing, right? But you decided to take this path in life. And I'm always super intrigued with, like, why did people take this next step? Like, why did you decide to take on this challenge at this point in your life as well? But I think it's an amazing experience for both of y'all, and it's an amazing experience for anybody that wants to come aboard to experience this with you. Not just have this experience, but they're experiencing it with you as well.
No, I mean, there's definitely no shortage of excitement. I start every day with a little checklist, and then I throw that checklist out because something happens that demands my immediate attention. And
put on point, like the similarities and differences to people that are similar with that they're familiar with below deck. So like the similarities are jets. Or the differences are there aren't no curtains. Everybody can be involved in this if you want when you come aboard, right?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I haven't watched Below Deck, but I have a feeling that this is not like that per
Not as
se.
dramatic.
It can get dramatic, you know. I mean, well, the reality is we are in a small microcosm. We are in a small community. People are gonna get in each other's ways. You know, if there's not an ample amount of empathy, or if you know, I mean, even if somebody slept like shit or got seasick and they didn't catch up on their sleep, and then you know, it's a butterfly effect,
Right.
you know, and it can affect everybody, and you have to keep that in mind, and you have to. I know I do my best to try and approach everybody that's having a bad day with grace, because sometimes I might have a bad day and I don't want to bite people's head off. But, you know, that's the reality of the boat world in general. I wouldn't call it like drama like the TV show, though. I mean, the drama is we have this problem cropped up. How are we going to solve it while underway and keep it going
Right.
without anybody knowing it even happened?
Yeah.
And that's the difference. And making the Below Deck illusion is, you know, Below Deck kind of hits it on the point as far as crew dynamics are concerned. And there's actually a coined term in the industry now called the Below Deck effect. That is more in regards to people wanting to find out what the maritime industry is like,
Yep.
whether they're coming aboard ships or they're looking for opportunities to work on ships, right? But as far as drama is concerned, there's more drama on this vessel associated with its operation than there is with personnel drama.
Got it.
Yeah. Thankfully, that didn't used to be the case necessarily. You know, there's a lot of personalities. There's always a lot of personalities on this ship. There still are, but we do.
We're on their way out, and half the
Yeah.
people were coming in. That was always a weird dynamic.
Yeah, and I think it's not. I mean, it's the boat is big enough though, where it seems like you can get away from if you need to separate yourself.
Gets smaller every day.
You do
Understandable.
You do find ways to separate for
Yep.
sure. But at the end of the day, we're living and working together 24/7 in confined areas.
Yep.
You know, and I've got a standing order. If you have a problem with somebody, go talk to them about it. If y'all can't figure it out, then you come to me and we'll figure it out together. You know,
Love that.
and luckily, like, I mean, then that was because everybody was coming to me with their problems at first for a little bit. I was like, just let me drive the damn ship, you know. But
Yep.
that's part of, you know,
Gotta be the captain.
Being a
Yep.
captain is part. I mean, that's part of it. You know, sometimes you don't know what you're signing up for. But the part that I want to, you know, push aside in that Below Deck analogy is that there's a lot of white glove service. There's a lot of behind closed doors occurrences with the passengers, the paying passengers that come aboard. And like, I don't want that. I like everybody coming on here feeling like they're a part of the community and a part of something, because everybody wants to be a part of something. Right.
Mess hall, breaking bread together.
Exactly. And freaking maybe even doing a night watch with Philip in the engine room if you're
Right.
up for it. You know, like things like that. Like
Right.
people are interested in that, and that's what we want to give to people. So.
Cool. I love that video. This is a random thought, but that video of Gigi cooking
Yeah.
and everything just going everywhere.
Yeah.
Oh God.
And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, that has got to be such a wild experience where you're almost maybe done with a meal and you've had a long day and the waves are crazy and all of a sudden the food just goes everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to be able to handle people's personalities and like know how to handle them as a human,
Yeah.
especially in a situation like that where
Yeah.
it's going to be so frustrating,
Yeah.
especially after you put so much work and effort into making the meal properly.
And,
I cannot.
and then Mother Ocean had another idea.
Exactly.
Yeah, we're at the will of her, you know, and the sooner you realize it out there, the easier it is, really.
Yeah.
You know, shit happens. Let's onward and upward.
Prepare for the worst. Oh yeah, forward.
Together.
Are we going to wrap up the podcast on that note?
We can, yeah.
So there is once again, there's a lot more that I'd love to dive into, and we might need to do another episode before you all leave Charleston.
Mhm.
And I'll get a new interface so we can do a proper 3-way here.
Yeah.
But I appreciate the information. I appreciate you diving into the story. I appreciate you talking about the experiences that people can and will have on this vessel in the very near future. There's a lot that's going to happen. And I'm super excited about what's coming for y'all. This sounds
Thank you very much.
super exciting. And
there's a lot that's going to be happening here in Charleston too. So keep an eye out for opportunities to come aboard and see what we're about for sure.
Absolutely.
And you need to do sleepover, brother.
I would love to come smoke a cigar and do a little sleepover on the couch at some point. So no, super exciting. And if there's anything else y'all want to leave with, feel free to include that now as we part ways.
Well, no, I appreciate you having us on, and we appreciate you being here and seeing the ship. Oh, yeah. Yeah, if you want to check us out on Instagram, of course. It's the Voyagers Club, LLC, and then voyagersclub.org. I think we're Voyagers Club on TikTok. You know, we're gonna be TikTok influencers. No, that's our social media director, our creative director Jordan Ditton. He's also local here.
Cool.
He also goes to Ethos. I'm sure you've crossed paths with him.
He's mentioned him a couple of times. So
yeah,
he's
he's a good kid. And he just seems to have a way with slapping together some really good videos.
Cool.
That we really like having him around as well.
I look forward to sharing my content with him so he can slap together a good one for y'all as
Definitely, yeah. And keep an eye out for everything that he has to share about all we're doing.
And I'll add, we want everybody that comes aboard here to feel welcome and comfortable. But it's also an oxymoron because we love to get people outside of their comfort zones, because when you're outside of your comfort zone, that's when you really have time to dive deep and reflect and hopefully grow. We're all about people being better, so to make this world a better place. And there's a lot of opportunities to find things out about yourself and about the world on the 75% of the salt water that makes up the world. And we are very honored to have the opportunity to live and work on that water, and we want to share that with y'all. We'll leave it at that.
Forward.
Together.
I think they're about to kiss. I don't know if anybody can see that, but these guys are about to kiss.
You gotta come over here. You gotta come over here.
Forward.
All right. And in 3, 2, 1.
Forward.
Together.
Cheers. Oh, that was fun.
We have been talking about it pretty much since the first time we met each other, nice and hot and sweaty and naked at Ethos.
I was not fully nude, but you might have been.
I'm always fully nude in there.
Forever and always.
Even in the gym. Yeah. I go in after hours and work out naked. That's what keeps the dad bod on fleek.
I really like this, by the way.
Yeah. So that's the Explorers Club, which
So
we'll probably
we're going to dive
talk
into
about.
it.
Yeah.
So in here we have our engine room. In 1971, the USGS did a power plant swap with a Caterpillar D398. It's a 12-cylinder V12 diesel twin turbo. Originally, the power plant was the very first hybrid diesel electric of its kind. Obviously, that kind of went the way of the dodo as technology advanced. But this is what we have now, and she's going strong, in really good health. Then over here for our generators, we've got two Detroit diesel two-strokes, a 40 kilowatt hour generator and a 60 kilowatt hour generator. And then our big boy is the 75 kilowatt hour generator. It's a John Deere. Then we have our fresh water maker system, an old, the original power bus with all the Bakelite breakers, which is pretty honking. Everything still works on that. And yeah, I mean, this is my workshop. This is where I spend my hours, and it's a blast.